Fair warning, this show contains strong language and adult themes from time to time. Sorry, Jerry can't help it.
Sick Boy Wolfgang Productions presents The Offering with Jerry Horror. A deep dive into the history of film and its filmmakers. Mostly horror, always genre.
Folks, I gotta tell you about mailbox movies. Remember the good old days? Back when Netflix would actually deliver physical media to your mailbox? Do you remember those days? I do. I love them. How often do you find yourself reminiscing about those trips to your local video store, sifting through every single collection, discovering a movie treasure that you've never seen before? If niche is your knack, then Mailbox Movies is the DVD delivery service for you. With simple online ordering and speedy DVD delivery right to your front door, Mailbox Movies has unbeatable prices that will give you more screams for your buck. Now remember, okay? Just remember, because you're gonna need this. Use the code JerryHorror for 50% off your first month. Take a shot. 50% off, how can you not? Don't settle for less. Get the best in horror delivered to your door. Again, that promo code for 50% off is JerryHorror. Head on over to mailboxmovies.com and start your own terrifying movie marathon today. Welcome to The Offering with Jerry Horror, the show where we can have a quiet and frank discussion as adults about the things that matter to me, or at least that I think matter to me. Please take a moment to subscribe to our show wherever you get fine podcasts, and hey, stay up to date on future episodes. Coming up, the director of Crumb Catcher, Chris Skotchdopole. Ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, this is The Offering, and I am Jerry Horror. Thank you so much for coming back here, folks. Hey, if it's your first time, we might go in some directions that you might not see coming. You know, a lot of times you sit down and you want to do an interview and you think to yourself, okay, well, this is the way it's going to play out. It's the same thing. You know, coaches will always tell you, use visualization. Visualization is the path to victory, and you can. But sometimes, folks, there's things you don't see coming. You know, nobody ever wants to get knocked out when they're boxing or doing UFC. They don't see it coming. And that is why this episode is so good. I'm going to tell you why it's good, because I already listened to it. I lived it. I was there. Chris Skotchdopole tonight, he directed this film, Crumb Catcher, and I got to tell you, it's one of the best films that I've seen all year. And I really wish I was just saying that, but man, it is a good film, and I think it's definitely worth your time. We do get into some of the film. There's no real spoilers, nothing too crazy, too spoilery, but you should definitely go. It's on VOD. There's a lot of ways to watch it. We saw it in theaters, but I think we're past the theatrical run, and you might be listening to this 20 years in the future. And Chris Skotchdopole has gone on to make his own Dark Knight trilogy. See, here's the thing, man. There's bullshit interviews. There's the Jennifer Aniston on the Today Show. And Jennifer Aniston comes on, and she talks about her skincare line. We tell a couple of funny jokes, and it's bullshit. And I get it. You're just pushing something. There's a time and a place for everything. But this episode of The Offering is a glimpse behind the eyes of a first-time director. And we go really in depth. Not only just like, okay, we're talking about the movie and what inspired you. We get beyond even all that bullshit. We get down to the nitty-gritty. We're talking about life, man. This is just two dudes ripping zin, having fun, and talking about life. We go to some strange places, man. We talk a little bit about Tony Scott, talk about Kanye West. We are all over the place. But I think if you appreciate the film, Crumb Catcher, you're going to appreciate the man, Chris Skotchdopole. And if anything, this might make you a fan. You might listen to this episode and say, I want to see this guy's movie. You know, I like this guy. And he's a real dude. And that's it, man. That's what we're looking for with this show. I'm not here to give you the same old, same old. You know, there's a reason you go to somebody like Mark Maron. You're going to go beyond the screen. You're going to go into this person's mind and learn who they are as a person, because at the end of the day, no matter how much clout you got, fame or money, there's a human being behind it. We build people up. We love building people up in this country so we can tear them down, whether it's Britney Spears or it is Ye. We love to destroy these idols and these effigies that we create. And the reality of this interview is we get to see who this director is. And that, my friend, is what the Director Series is about. Well, for one thing, it's about you. You might be 6 years old. I don't know why you're listening to this, but if you are, hey, you're a smart kid and you're going to go places. You could be 60 years old and you're listening to this. And I have to say, you probably need to make better life decisions at this point. You know, there's better shows, but you're here to learn. And there's things that you're never going to learn in a classroom. You want to learn how to make movies? Well, I can tell you, go shoot a movie. Go make a movie. Do it. Just do it. Don't talk about it. You know, you can plan about it, but it's about the execution. And you always have to be executing. You have to be doing. Because you know what? You make a movie and it's shitty. Okay, go make another one. You know, like we talked about before, I talked about with Chris. You didn't like the movie? Go watch another one. There's more. It's like when you eat a bad piece of fruit. It's not the last apricot on earth. There's more apricots, and some of them are going to be sweet and juicy, and some of them are going to be sour and maybe even rotten. But we're always going to chase the juicy one. We want the sweet one. And I listen, you know, I don't know these guys. Like, I'm not hanging out with Chris. I'm not hanging out with Larry. Sometimes I hang out with Sean, but that's, you know, that is what it is. We're staying, you know, concise to the season. But you don't know who these people are. And I hope that this interview paints a portrait as to who Chris Skotchdopole is, not just as a director, but as the man, as a father, as a husband, and everything else that he's got going on. Learned some really interesting stuff about this cat. And when we start off, you know, it's a little bit slow. There's a little bit getting to learn each other. It's just like anything else. I think sometimes people have instant chemistry, and that's great. But in this situation, the interview and the interviewer, the interviewee, we build. There is systematic trust that you will listen to and you will hear it. It's built. And by the time we get to the end of this episode, it's going to blow your mind, because that's just who we are, you know? And I think it's good. I know you guys, you want to hear me do the deep dives into movies and you want to know about Dr. Giggles, and I love Dr. Giggles, but sometimes we have to learn how the sausage is made so that we can apply these lessons and some of these stories to our own lives, so we can enrich the people around us, because at the end of the day, that's all that's worth it. If you listen to something on this show and you get to regurgitate that fact that you learned or that story, I've done my job, because I have created something that has affected you in a way that you felt was important enough to share with the people in your life. And at the end of the day, that is all that matters. So yes, you're going to get your episodes where I'm talking about Dr. Giggles, I promise, kids, but you really have to give this Director Series a chance, because it's a peek behind the curtain that you're not going to get anywhere else. This is no bullshit. This is no on the record, off the record. We're doing it. We're recording it. It's real, okay? I'm a real guy. I'm not some kind of personality or anything. I'm just a normal dude, just like you. You might be a chick. I'm just like you. It doesn't matter what you are. We're all the same. We're all one race. We're human. And at the end of the day, the story of Chris Skotchdopole as a first-time director of Crumb Catcher is he's just a human being. And he's got hopes and desires and fears. And he used to hurt himself a lot doing skateboarding tricks, or lack thereof. So with that being said, I hope that you come into this episode with an open mind. Empty that glass, empty that cup, empty that mug, fill it up. Fill it up with the knowledge that we are dropping today. It's crazy. Don't forget, we got shirts on TeePublic. Don't forget to follow us. We're on Twitter, @TheOffering. Oh, it's not even Twitter no more. It's Elon Musk. Who knows? You might be listening to that whole thing, but he's in deep shit. Not to get into current events, because it's going to date this episode, but X, not doing too good. And when I type in X to the Google machine, that's not what comes up. There's some other things that come up, and I was aware of that. But Folks, I'm at Jerry Horror. You can find me at The Offering with JH, right? It's something like that. It is what it is. You know, listen, I'm going to believe that the people who listen to this show are smart people. These are smart people. These are thoughtful people. These are artistic people. These are folks that I don't have to tell them. You know where to find Jerry Horror. You know where to find The Offering. You found us right here. So with that being said, I believe it was 50 Cent who once said, Banks told me, go ahead, cuz, switch the style up and watch the money pile up. And that's what we did. We invested into somebody, an unproven talent, who made one of the best movies of the year. And we got one of the best interviews of the year. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Stay tuned because after the break, it is on like Donkey Kong, baby. When I was a kid and I used to go to the movies, not that I ever stopped going to the movies, but I used to go to the movies. I still do. I went the other day. It was fantastic. Wonderful. Popcorn, 10 out of 10. But the reality of it was that in the 90s, you would go and see these movies. They were called thrillers. And I feel like I'm the 100-year-old man and I'm explaining these to you now. But you want to see Unlawful Entry? You want to see Basic Instinct was a big one. Even some of the ones that were like lesser ones, like De Palma's lesser work, like Snake Eyes. I love Snake Eyes. I think it's a great movie. Fatal Attraction. Now that's, God damn it. I can relate. I've been there. Michael Douglas, producer of Stone Cold and Double Impact, but take my name off. Take my name off as a producer. Black Rain, incredible. Have you seen Black Rain? If you haven't seen it, go see it. Just shut the podcast off now and go watch Black Rain. No, in all seriousness though, you used to go to the theater, you would see these movies, they were called thrillers. We talk about, again, the monoculture. It was, I want to say the word, ubiquitous. Am I even saying it right? Who knows? You figure it out. You get a thesaurus out, make it happen. And you'd get one every week. It was the same thing with the action films and everything else. But now that everything is IP-based and IP-driven, there's certain things that you should always have as far as genres. I understand things come and go, but the reality of it is that it just feels like we don't get them anymore. You know, so many of my favorite movies, and going back to De Palma, people used to give De Palma shit because they would say, oh, he's a Hitchcock knockoff. You know what? I'll take fucking 10 Hitchcock knockoffs right now, comparatively. Like Blowout. One of my favorite movies. And if you're an audiophile, it's a huge movie. You can learn a shitload about sound recording for films just watching Blowout. So, previous guest on the show, Larry Fessenden, Glass Eye Pix. It's a movie coming out called Crumb Catcher. I don't know what a Crumb Catcher is. I don't know what's going on. So me and producer Pete, we hoof it down to the Alamo. Shout out to them, Alamo NYC. And we see Crumb Catcher. I got to tell you, I like going in blind. But with a lot of movies now, it used to be teaser, trailer, trailer 1, trailer 2, trailer 3. But now with the TikTokification of everything, you could watch the whole movie. I mean, they're giving away 15-second clips, you know. Here's Wolverine taking a shit. Have you seen it? Oh, my God, it's fantastic. It's incredible. He uses all the toilet paper. The reality of the situation was I went into Crumb Catcher completely blind. I watched a little bit of the trailer. I'm like, no. Now I look at the poster and I like to go to the movie and you've got me. I'm in the dark room. I'm in the box. Shake the fuck out of me. Make me laugh. Make me cry. And I'll watch the trailer afterwards. But I saw Crumb Catcher and it's really good. And then we ran into the guy who made it. My guest today is Chris Skotchdopole. He is a director. Chris, welcome to The Offering.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, we need to just get into it because I don't want to spoil too many things. If you haven't seen Crumb Catcher, you want to see it, we're not going to get into spoilery things because we do want you to watch the movie. It's going to be on VOD?
VOD August 20th.
Okay, cool. Because a lot of people, we put the plugs in the end, but in case you just want to go watch Crumb Catcher and then sit with the director, you can go do that. What's the genesis of this project?
The genesis was really just wanting to make a thriller. Then you just sort of follow. It's really hard to know where ideas come from, and you sort of wish there was like a big, aha, that's what it was, and there was a conceit. But really for me, it's like I'm just getting ideas little at a time, and then you just like have all of these thoughts, and then, oh, well, that one matches with this one. Okay, so then that builds this big of a house, and then that collapses. And then you're like, okay, well then there's these ones, and then those build up to this high. So for me, it's a lot of like little ideas that then you try to find a simple line that goes through it, which is why like I think the movie is unpredictable at times because I don't really, when I was making it, I didn't really know where it was going.
Kind of like a constantly evolving creature.
Yeah, you're just like, I mean, I just think with a movie, you're just like feeding it until it's full, and in like various stages, you know, in with the writing and the editing and yeah, with like funding too. You know?
Oh man, we're gonna get into it, but let's go back a little further.
Sure.
What's the movie that lit your fuse? Because as I always say, there's two movies. We'll get to the second movie in a second, but the first movie is what's the movie lit your fuse? Like made you a fan of movies? Like holy shit, I love movies.
Well, I grew up on sets when I was a kid. My father and my uncle worked on a long period of Tony Scott's career.
Holy shit.
You know, when I was 3 years old, I was on like Days of Thunder, and I remember when I was a kid seeing when they were making like Crimson Tide and being on the submarine that they had actually built a real submarine in a studio with it was on like hydraulics so it would shake and stuff like that.
No volume back then. we had to do it in camera.
And then, yeah, so basically I've always sort of aspired to, like I think Tony in a way he was just an amazing kind of force and an incredible human. And I think I aspired to movies, I think just sort of being on those sets. And so that was that. And then I would say that probably the most, like in terms of like VHS rewatching movies all the time, I would probably say the period of when Jim Carrey kind of came alive. Yeah. Ace Ventura and all those, The Mask, Liar Liar. Like those are all movies that I just know front to back.
I've seen him 100 times, and it was like insanity. If you didn't grow up with the whole Jim Carrey phenomenon, he could do no wrong, and it was just one after the other. I think when we get to Liar Liar is like the end of that cycle, and he tries to do different things. Like I like The Truman Show. I think he's a great actor. I think fantastic actor, but the Jim Carrey laugh machine.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was also like I was a huge fan of him. And in a way, as I got older, he started developing, like, I remember when I first saw Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And then it was like, whoa, what's he doing here? You know? And so I attribute Jim Carrey to a lot of my obsessive rewatching and these sorts of things in my early years. And just like that sort of raw... He's so incredible, you know, and I love to this day that my parents would just think that I'm watching this terrible, goofy stuff, and then now years later, everyone's like, he's a genius, and I'm like, see, I was right.
That's the way it always is. Like these guys die, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, no, this is why you got to celebrate people when they're here and let them know.
Yeah, and so Jim Carrey was really that, and then Spielberg I really loved and just was like, wow, that's awesome, and then I got to college. Well, there was also sort of another seminal movie. As I remember seeing Elephant when I forget what age I was, but anyway, and this movie was, I just didn't really understand. Like I was like, oh, this is a movie? Like, this is like just these tracking shots of these kids, the Columbine shootings. I just remember being really like, what is that? And I just didn't really know what it was. And then the same thing like Taxi Driver, I remember someone showing it to me when I was very young, and I just like didn't understand the ending. Like I was very confused, but also just like I kept thinking about it being like, well, he wasn't a hero though. Like why are we celebrating? You know, and then that was clearly the purpose of the whole movie. But I remember that, and then I think the movie that I would say changed me really kind of understanding films was Chinatown.
Okay.
For sure, that movie. I remember I had a professor at the time, and he was breaking down certain scenes from it, and it just sort of like made me understand that every detail in a movie is an opportunity to tell something further. Like there's this scene in Chinatown, the opening, where it starts on the pictures of the affair that he's just filming. You know, the first line is the guy who his wife's cheating on him, like grabbing at the Venetian blinds and like crying. And he's like, hey, Curly. lay off the Venetian blinds. I just had them, installed on Thursday. And then, he's sitting back down in his chair. He was like going to give him a drink. He goes to reach for the liquor, and there's the front stuff, and then he goes to the back to get the shitty liquor.
Yeah.
And pours him a drink. And then all of this is like, okay, J.J. Gittes is moving up in the world. This is an old type of client. So he's climbing in a way, and he's trying to be a better type of detective.
Yeah.
Then Mulray comes, high-powered, of the city.
Yeah.
And then this is an opportunity for him to be this. So basically, just in that scene that you didn't even realize you got all this information about the Venetian blinds. Okay, he just got them installed on Thursday. He has a really nice suit. That guy doesn't have nice clothing. He's reaching for the back bottle of booze. So that means that this is an old client, but he's still a nice guy. He's still trying to take care of him. And then this new opportunity, this new sort of level of luxury or wealth is coming into his world. And then you just see that in that movie is just so incredible. It's sort of a movie I've been studying a lot recently because of a project I'm working on. But yeah, and then just Polanski in general. And then I just love the way Polanski moves the camera, but also the way he is focused on a singular perspective through an experience. And you see that in almost all of his movies are like that.
There's a voyeuristic feeling to Polanski's work.
Yeah, and it's through the character. It's not, you were just talking about Blowout. It's not voyeuristic like the opening of that movie where you're like, who is this bad guy that we're watching? Yeah. It's not like a game that we're playing. We're watching this story like those detective novels that the Raymond Chandler books that Chinatown is sort of based on. That is what I was focused on in Crumb Catcher, was a singular focus on one person's experience. You sort of see this in one of my other favorite movies of Polanski is The Tenant. That's about a person who's losing his mind. Yeah. And you're only through his perspective, and seeing him lose his mind and going into these dream scenes that then it's like the hallway is the same, but it's slightly distorted. Yeah. Only slightly distorted. And you're like, that's real, but it feels strange. But you buy it. But it's like this manipulation that's happening to you over the course of what this character is experiencing. And that was sort of how I went through Crumb Catcher and moving through different tones, because it's truly like what the character is experiencing. It's not like, okay, we're switching it up. Cut to crazy woman over here, and she's having a thing. It's truly the sleight of hand of what the character is experiencing.
It's the magic trick.
Yeah, the magic.
And that's the real magic of cinema.
Yeah, it's to truly connect you to a person that's going through something. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's crazy to me is nowadays we live in the age of exposition, where everything's a fucking exposition dump. I like compact visual storytelling, where you're getting a lot of information visually. Well, because it is a visual medium.
Yeah, sure.
And I like that because it's like you're allowing the viewer to figure it out. And there is a reward for telling somebody, hey, this is not just a big stupid movie, but you're picking up on the nuance. Another thing, I'm sorry, I got to go. Whenever you mention something, because I'm crazy, I got squirrel brain, Tony Scott, everybody said with Beverly Hills Cop 2. They were like, oh, it's too slick, it's too glossy, it looks like a fucking music video. And then guess what? Everything became that. Mm-hmm. Everybody's been aping Scott style since then. Also, quick recommend to the listeners, Unstoppable.
I was just watching that, yeah.
Holy shit, dude. Yeah. That movie is incredible.
I have a funny story about that movie. I was in high school and my dad was shooting that movie, and I was making my own movie at the time with people from high school, and I was a skateboarder, and I remember I was going down this hill and I fell, and then I just woke up in my friend's arms, and the ambulance lights were there, and then I'm getting rushed to the hospital, and I had internal bleeding in my brain, and they were going to drill and all this stuff. It was a pretty intense thing. And my father flew back to New York to just be there, and so he jumped off of Unstoppable in the middle of it for however long I was in the hospital. I was in the hospital, I think, for a week. And anyway, the sweetest thing is I got a package when I was in the hospital from Tony. He sent me all of his DVDs, all of his movies. Like
That's cool.
It's a huge thing. But he was sort of a wonderful person like that.
Yeah. I mean, by all accounts, everybody's always said that, and it rest in peace, Tony Scott, because there are guys, just like we talked about De Palma, they don't get the credit. They just don't get it. And to me, Tony Scott was somebody who was so hugely influential, but in a way that everybody just ripped him off. Everybody just took his storytelling style, his visual style, and was like, we're just going to use it over here. But that's how you can tell when you're a great filmmaker, when you have... I think there's people who are like, they always go back and they're like, oh, well, I'm influenced by Godard, I'm influenced by Charlie Chaplin. But then it's like to have somebody that's alive and working and they're influencing the zeitgeist like a Tarantino where it's happening in real time. To me, that's impressive because you've put a spell over people. You have put this thing where it's like, oh my God, Pulp Fiction's the most amazing movie ever. How do I make a movie like that? And then that movie ends up in your movie,
Yeah.
I got my second question.
Oh, hold on. I just want to finish.
Go ahead. No, totally.
The other part of this story, which was actually, so after I got out of the hospital, I was shooting this like epic movie for my, high school thing. I remember I was like, oh, we got to get everyone together to shoot that scene. I went into my camera and looked at like what we had shot the last time, and we had shot that scene. And I had completely forgot about it because I hit my head because I was shooting and then we were like skateboarding after. Like I just had I was like, and as I was looking at the footage, I was like, I vaguely remember shooting that now.
It's insane.
But it was a kind of crazy thing. Anyway, so that's the button on the story. But yeah.
I don't even have any stories that are that good. I do. I got to work. I was doing security on the set of Man in the Moon. Is it Man in the Moon? I was going to say Man to the Moon, and it's great.
Love that movie.
And when I was there, everybody was really cool. Like all access. We're all hanging out. Courtney Love's there. We're all just chilling. And this is when they were doing the stuff for the taxi sequence where, I didn't get to meet DeVito. I wanted to meet Danza. We all know about Danza. But anyway, I'm not going to say it. But if you see him, I've heard the guy's hung like a horse.
Is that true?
This is the word on the street is that Danza's packing.
Wow,
so
baby, that's awesome.
DeVito said it's huge, but you know what? Everything's huge to DeVito. There's tables.
I know. That's
But in all seriousness, nobody had access to Jim Carrey, and because we grew up with him and we love this guy and we've seen I've seen Ace Ventura, both of them a million times. I'm like, fuck, what if I could meet Jim? I'm like, Jerry, can I meet Jim Carrey? Is there a way that I can meet? So he wouldn't meet anybody because he was doing the whole method thing. He was Andy Kaufman, and it was like a no-fly zone. Like you wouldn't see him. He came to set, did his thing,
Well, there's a great doc about it. Andy and Me. Yeah, it's really interesting, and I think certain people think he's incredibly indulgent, but I don't agree. And anyway, you should check out that doc. He goes through his experience of transforming into Andy Kaufman, and yeah.
So look, we got some solid recommends. Go watch Unstoppable. Go watch Crumb Catcher. Go watch what's the other one? Andy and Me. Either is genius. I think Jim Carrey is a fucking genius. He's another one of those guys that he won't get that credit. They're gonna see it later on. They're gonna be like, so many guys though they never, and women too, they never get the credit. They just don't. But I got to transition, so I'm going to get to my second movie. Now, the first movie is the one that lit your fuse. It says, I love movies. The second movie is, I think I can do this. Was there a moment where you watched a movie and you were like, wait a second, can I do this? Is this possible?
Basically like, I can do something like this. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there was Chinatown was really that movie where I was like, I understand what it takes to be good. Not that I'm like fooling myself that I could do that, but I'm like, at least I'm like understanding the gears and the inner workings of certain things in a way. And then, a lot of it, like a lot of when I'm making a movie or when I'm writing a movie, I'm just like watching a lot of trash movies. Like I actually prefer to watch bad movies sometimes.
I agree.
Not bad movies because I'm not like standing above them, but like there are, and specifically when I was writing Crumb Catcher, I was just like any and all thrillers all the time. And
you got to get a baseline. You got to get.
Well, it's like I didn't have any like. There's no movie that is like I'm trying to make Crumb Catcher like. I think a lot of the comparisons right now in press is, people are saying funny games, which is not actually. I was not thinking about that at all. It's actually not. I didn't even think.
I didn't get that at all. And I've seen both versions.
Yeah, I didn't consider the movie a home invasion movie until somebody wrote about it.
Well, it's the spin.
And then I was like, with the people distributing the movie, Music Box Films, and it seemed like a good angle.
We got to sell this picture.
Yeah, exactly. But that's like, it's interesting to read reviews and people are like, clearly, they're trying to do this home invasion and a different spin on it. And I'm like, cool, that's fine. But that's just not the reality of how things went down.
And that's the thing when you send that little baby out into the world.
Yeah.
It's people are going to write all different things and they're going to feel all different types of ways. And sometimes you see it, and then sometimes you're like, okay, you guys are fucking crazy.
No, or just like, that's cool. It's just not how it happened. But I also, I appreciate all the different thoughts. And, I think if people are really engaging with it, it's good.
And that's really what's most important.
Yeah.
I would like to believe, there's some wacky artist out there, some wacky filmmaker who's like, I don't want my art to be seen. And why the fuck are you doing this? You know what I'm saying? If you're going to sing at a talent show, you sing at a talent show. You've put yourself on a stage. You've committed celluloid, well, not even anymore. You've committed digital composites, and now it's projecting on a screen, and now everybody can see it.
Yeah.
You wanted people to see it. And going back to Polanski's work, you look at a lot of that stuff as far as like his early films and whatnot. There's just, you distinctly know his work. You're watching a Roman Polanski movie, whether it's the shot composition, whether it's, there's just little, I guess I'm going to say nuance. There's nuance to his work as a director.
Yeah, there's a way that he seduces the audience that is very slow slow is not the right word, but like measured, and you're just kind of like getting pulled in.
And that's the magic trick. That's the rope-a-dope.
Sort of, Rosemary's Baby is a classic one of doing that.
Yep, because you're in there. You know the apartment building. You see what's going on. You're there with her, and it's happening, in real time. It's like even that guy, was it Osgood Perkins who did Longlegs? Mm-hmm. He snuck stuff into the frames. He's like, can you find the devil? The devil appears in this movie. The reality of that was like, I always thought that was neat. Like if I was a director and I was a kid, I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put all these subversive things and just see, does anybody pick up on it? Nowadays, everything's like a list we got to put online, so we revealed it. But I think it would have been cool if over like 20 years, people were like, did you ever see this frame? And you got like kids that are stopping it. And, I was going to say DVD, and there's no kid with DVD.
Yeah.
I got to explain to kids what a DVD is.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm very annoyed at physical media currently because I have a whole collection, and then I just bought a Blu-ray player because one of them broke. I want to say like a year later, the thing fucking breaks, and it's like I spent $300 on this thing, and it's like breaking in a year. I'm so annoyed, and then it's like you can either buy the same shitty one now, or you can jump and spend $1,200 to get the one that won't break. And I'm just like, I'm not spending that amount of money. This is bullshit. Now there's these boxes in the room that my daughter rips down and just, and I don't actually own a player, which we're going to be releasing this on Blu-ray in a few months. So I'll have to get one for there. But I just can't spend the $300 on a shitty machine. And I'm just like, am I really going to get the expensive one?
It's like at that point,
annoying.
that's why the PlayStation is so sexy, because you get a 4K player.
Yeah.
You can use it as your UI interface. It's nice.
I never played video games, or it just wasn't part of my life. But the person who plays Shane in this movie, Rigo Garay, has an Xbox, and he's always like, yeah, that's why the Xbox is great, and because his never breaks. I digress.
No. There's a whole lot of digressing on this show. That's what this show should have been called. What's crazy is like when I was growing up, I did martial arts, which I guess takes quite a bit of coordination.
Sure.
But it's somehow inherently different that I can understand that. I understand there's a nonverbal language of choreography that I understand, whether it's even dance. But for you, it was skateboarding, which is like, to me, I get on a skateboard, I'm going to die. I was afraid of skateboards as a kid. I mean, I grew up in the 90s. So like skating, I mean, Peralta, Hawk, all these people, like they're like gods to us, and we're watching them. And now it's like ESPN, they've got skateboarding. Like now it's not just, oh, we had to get tapes from the back of Thrasher. Now we can watch this on cable, and they're big stars. Then we get the video games. When you like, just tell me about skating as a kid. What was that like?
I was never really good at it. Like I was always decent, but I could never really do the tricks that well. But I tried like hell. But it was mostly just an experience with me and like maybe one other friend. And, you know, it was always like I was totally fine to eat shit. And I just like really it was skateboarding for me was like the scabs and the like always having like blood on your arms and like just feeling like, yeah, I did some shit today. And I just remember feeling like as a kid, like proud of being all beaten up from like jumping down some stairs and falling and failing. Yeah. Oddly enough, I think a lot of that lends itself. I think you see a lot of filmmakers who were skaters, and I think it's because
it's like Spike Jonze.
Yeah, but it takes a certain attitude to make a movie that you're like, I'll fucking bust my ass. Like, or like, I don't care if I fall down the stairs and break my arm or like my wrist or whatever. You're just like, I'm going to go for this thing, even if I don't know how I'm going to land.
Yeah.
And I think getting up and trying again and then trying again and then you keep failing and then you're like, but I can feel that I'm that close. And then you finally do it and you're like, you know, I think that kind of attitude in making art is
you got to be fearless.
Important. Yeah.
You got to believe in yourself. You got to be fearless.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing every director that I talk to is just like at a certain point you got to commit. And you got to commit and you can't be afraid. You have to be fearless.
Yeah.
Because chances are, you know, and again, it's the way movies are. We have access to them. We can watch them over and over again. People can see the flaws. They can see the things that aren't right, or they see the plot holes, or they see this. They don't understand that someone had to make that decision and they had to commit. Like, you know, they don't know. People see movies and they don't. Most people don't even understand that films are a collaborative process. Again, like the living, breathing monster that you've created. I think what happens is a large part of this show that we try to do is try to give people who are out there, you know, they're younger, they're older, and this isn't like, hey, if you're listening to this and you're 16 and you want to make a movie, make a movie. If you're 60 years old, make a movie, because everybody's got a story, everybody's got a perspective, and that I think inherently excites me, especially when you have people like the guys who did American Movie. You know,
I love that movie. Yeah.
Oh my, it's coming out on 4K. I was like, ooh, they got me.
Yeah, no, it's an incredible film, just about your spirit but I do think that making a movie is the most important thing is confidence.
Okay.
You know, I spend a good amount of time every day. I'm like, whether I'm working on a writing project right now, and I spend like an hour a day, headphones on, pacing around the room, getting into a confidence, into a like place where I feel like, fuck you, fuck everyone else, I got this.
That's how I go to the gym.
Yeah, and I think it's important to do that, because then you can kind of put the blinders on and just feel your, you know, sort of like throw your goal over there through like your like just sheer confidence. You're just like, you put the blinders on and you're just like only focused on that thing. And I think that's important. And I when I was making this movie, there was a lot of things always going wrong, as with all movies.
Oh yeah.
I would spend a portion of the morning kind of getting into that place where I felt like I can push away the world, you know?
Yeah. No, I get it. So there's a freedom. There's a personal freedom that comes with it.
Yeah, and also it's just like a thing of like when you're creating something, if your brain is going, oh, well, I wouldn't want them to get that idea. Well, no. So we'll do it like this because if we did it like that, like then they would think this. So you just want to go in this way. And that's the worst way to create. Absolutely. And that's where you kind of start creating at first. And then I feel like the place you want to get to is like, oh, wouldn't that be fucking incredible if that happened?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So then if we did that, it's just going to be like that, you know? And I think you need to get to that place where you're sort of reaching for something that would be incredible or would be awesome or like, could you imagine?
Yeah.
and get away from what they might think this. Like, it's good
Fuck
to have
the audience.
No, but it's good to have those people around you.
Of course.
And ultimately, it's extremely important to have those people around you. But it's good when those people are also ready for the win when your thing comes true. So, but yeah.
Well, it's important. I mean, it's one of those things where I think every artist needs a home base. And sometimes when we talk about a home base, we're not talking about an actual place. We're talking about the people around them.
Sure.
So, like, you've been lucky that you had people that were supportive. When you said, like, I'm going to do a feature, was anybody like, I don't know, man. I don't know, Chris. I don't know.
Not necessarily. I mean, maybe the people who I'm asking for money. I mean, I think everyone was. I'm not around people who tell me not to. I don't. I've just naturally. I've surrounded myself with hype people. And I don't mean like that I'm like, I only do with this. It's just like the people that I end up having close relationships with are people who help me be better,
That's what, yeah.
And that is, or at least see a common goal together.
This movie's nuts. I mean, it's a great movie. I love the movie. I just, not to change gears, well, we're changing. It's all the same. It's a pastiche. It's a jambalaya.
It's a symphony of thoughts.
So take me back. This movie starts gestating, what, pre-pandemic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And you're getting it ready. I've heard a little bit of this story. You were talking about this at the Q&A at the Alamo. Unfortunately, I had the sriracha fries. Fantastic. Taste excellent. Went through me. Transparency, folks. This is what you listen to the show for. You don't listen.
I mean, these are real issues.
It was a real issue because I'm thinking you're on stage and I'm like, this guy's gonna think I'm a dick, and I'm just like, I'm the only person getting up during the Q&A, and I was like, all right, is it gonna be worse if I defecate on myself?
Oh, that would be worse. That would be worse. Yeah.
It would be historical. We showed that movie, man. Some guy shit himself. Craziest movie. But
yeah, that's a real thing.
So you got this thing popping off. Was like 2019, 20. What? Give me the lowdown on this.
I want to say it was longer than that. I mean, I had a draft that I was like showing to people, actually, gearing up, getting trying to get money and these sorts of things. And 2017, I want to say.
Okay.
And, we went through periods where we were in talks with like big companies that were interested, and then it didn't really amount to anything from where I'm standing now. When you're in the weeds back then, you're like, you see all the opportunities, you see all the things that could be. But it was a lot of like asking for permission to make a movie. And then, I ended up crewing a very interesting cast. I sort of like, I had a little bit of money in place, not a lot, like very, very little. I just was like, okay, what if I just get rid of everything I have and just start building from like, this was during pandemic time, is that because I had these like actors that were known but weren't like huge celebrities, that like they were, basically it wasn't getting me to, no one was writing checks for them.
Yeah.
And the point is that it's not like I can call them and say, hey, let's like just fuck around and do some rehearsals and sort of like, let's see what's going on.
We got an agent.
Yeah, and it's not like they weren't game to do that. It's just like, they have their lives. I don't. There's no blaming here. But then I decided to like cast the lead with this guy Rigo Gray, who's a friend of mine, had acted for me before in something else, and then it's like he'll come over all the time. Like we can just be making this thing. And then I just started, as I got new people involved, the first part of the conversation was, okay, we're going to be doing rehearsals all the time, and this is part of the role, or this is part of what you're agreeing to.
Yeah.
And then I just sort of like started building the movie on my own terms, as opposed to like on somebody else's terms and asking permission.
Yeah.
So I think that is, especially for a first-time director, I think you want to have authority and you want people to believe with you.
Yeah.
And I don't say authority like I'm the boss.
No, but you
like,
got to stand on business to be taken seriously.
Yeah, but it's also like, I guess one of the biggest things I've learned through this sort of period of making this was belief in others. And, I think when I make a decision, like whether it's like choosing the actor or choosing the the DP or whoever you're working with. There's lots of options.
Okay.
And then you pick the person, and then I just am completely blind that there's ever any other option. Like I feel like I do have a talent of just like blocking everything away and just focusing. And I think that lends itself to they know that you truly believe in them.
Yeah.
And then more often than not, it's always that they throw it right back to you, and then they fully believe in you.
Yeah.
I think the more you can do that with each collaboration, the better the team will go. And yeah, I really do believe that if the more that you do that, the better you're going to be, because one person can fight to do it, but you've really, in this medium, it's really about it's such a collaborative
It's got to be.
thing, and especially the way that we worked with this. Even we had a very strong script that we were working from. Actors would come in, and then I would be like, okay, so it's fine to just like, these are the lines, but if you fuck up, it's not a problem, you know. And then I was always recording on my phone, and then they would say something that's funny, and then I'd be like, okay, great, that was great. So just keep saying it like that, and then I would write it into the script the next time
That's the way to go.
And that was really great. And it's this way that you can really tailor the suit, which is the character, to the actor, just with these little things that just make them feel a little bit more comfortable.
Rather than being like the totalitarian,
the playwright that's like this every syllable and you know, it's just, I get it with plays actually, because there is no editing.
No.
So with me, I'm just like, give me everything. Great, you want to try that? Because ultimately I'm going to be editing it, and if I don't like it, I can cut here to get rid of it and whatever. But you know, with a play, you're sort of, I get the militant nature of a playwright needing to get the syllables right, because he doesn't have that at his disposal.
So now, were you writing with Rigo?
Basically, the way that the writing of the piece went down is, I was working at Larry's company, Glass Eye Pix, for a number of years as I was developing this story.
What were you doing over there?
I was shooting a lot of things, editing. Also, Larry is all about preserving the history of his company. Like, you know, he's been doing things since he was in college under the Glass Eye banner, and has always. One of the things I really love about him and the company is that in the 80s they were doing this like sort of, what is it called? What is the fucking thing called? Anyway, when you're doing something weird in public and you film it. The point is that he would have all these performers that would go, and Larry would film them, and so part of my job there was like sifting through all this shit and like cataloging and organizing but ultimately, it's just like, you know, you end up just seeing these different parts of New York at different times. And
that's the best thing. I love that.
It's awesome. So I think of myself as an archivalist for him for a period as well. And that was kind of very fun, and throwing those things into different edits and whatever else.
I watched Abel Ferrara's King of New York.
Oh, it's
and it's like, it's 1990 or whatever it is. And I'm like, wow. You know, even like when you watch Ghostbusters, I love New York movies because you get to see it.
The time capsule, yeah.
Yeah, this is what it was like.
Yeah.
It's cool, though, that Glass Eye does that, because I think a lot of people aren't even self-aware enough to preserve their legacy.
Yeah.
It's smart.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, he's just getting ready for his eulogy, as he would always say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically the point is that I was doing that, and I was trying to figure out how to make a thriller. I also wasn't even like, I wasn't really even that big of a horror fan, to be honest. And then until I met Larry, and then he started sort of giving me movies to watch, and then became interested in certain parts of that kind of these stories. Anyway, the point is that I would have the story, and then we would go out for drinks, and I would kind of talk about what I'm working on, and then always be like, hey, you want to get another drink? And then talk about it again, And he's always just a great, I would just tell him. It was never like...
just bouncing it off of him.
Yeah, it was just like verbally. And I actually really do like telling scripts verbally to people
agree.
rather than read the pages. You know, you really, when you get the pages, you'll see it. It's like, actually, that's not...
Too much of a commitment.
That's actually... It's not that it's too much of a commitment. It's actually not helpful to the person who's writing. It's much better to be like, okay, so this guy walks into this building.
Yeah.
And this guy says this thing to him, which then reminds him that he just met that guy. And then you're having to, you're like standing up on stage telling someone a thing. So I did that for a while with Larry, and the movie shifted in different ways. And Larry's great at like just being like, well, that's just complicated. Like, what if it's this? And then
So like streamlining, just through these conversations.
and helping me, and then we would streamline to a point, and then I'd be like,
Okay.
no, it's completely this thing, and then I would start over again, and then he would just be like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck? And then basically Rigo was working at Glass Eye as well at that period, and I would always be chatting with him and trying to figure out, what is this, what is that? So I always found that the two of them were kind of these yin and yang of like, go out to the drink with him and do these things, and then I'd come back and be like, he said this, but I don't know if that, and then you're getting into this. And I was sort of just like bouncing around. And then there's also like my lady back home that she would deal with it when I'm home. But she's not credited, unfortunately. And and then when Rigo became more a part of the movie in terms of like he was going to play Shane, it was like how to adapt the character to be someone that we thought could be interesting for him. Yeah, I remember it was sort of, I had some memory of a close friend of mine. I would go, he's a Puerto Rican dude, and he was like estranged from his father. Father was a really nice guy, but was just a total drunk, and we would go over to have a straw, and he would go to get his hair cut at this like barber place, and I was like the only white guy there, and I would like sit next to him as he's getting his hair cut, and we would go visit his dad at the bodega. He was like one of these kind of like goofy drunks. It was always like, and just hung out at the bodega all day, know. I like that idea about this person who his dad was around that, and that's where the kind of character started when Rigo came on, as I was like, what if he had like an experience with his father where his dad was like kind of there, but like was always with his buddies in the bodega and like doing that thing, and then he just kind of like lived on his own from a very early age. And then that's sort of where when Rigo came on, that's where we kind of started from. He grew up in sort of, not the best neighborhood in Long Island, and had some experiences with gangs and people that he knew, and that a lot of times people from that background, like that becomes their family. Mm-hmm. And then we talked about that, and then how he broke away from that, and then he started doing this other thing, and then he met this girl who was from a totally different world. Yeah. And then then we just started going from there.
Well, that's when I watched the movie, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching Rigo, and I'm like, Shane, he's a street guy. And I will tell you, as kind of a street guy, I'm like, I buy it. I'm buying it. So, and then, we saw him at the Q&A, and then, now that I know he plays Xbox, gotta get his gamer tag. But yeah, it's like, you realize, like, oh, wait, those tattoos are fake.
Yeah.
And he's not that guy. And I'm like, God damn, he's a good actor. It's like, because the whole time I'm watching Shane in the movie, I'm saying to myself, I'm like, where the fuck did he find this guy? I'm like, he's good. And that's a testament to
acting. A lot of people thought that I just like found some street dude that was this. I mean, the truth is that Rigo was around a lot of people like that. And one of the things that I really knew that Rigo was an actor from even before I cast him in something is that he is an incredible impersonator.
Nice.
Just like random people in your life, just like starts doing their voices and like saying things the way that they would. And he uses it as a way to just like tell jokes and stuff. And actually, it's a really beautiful thing because he tells me that his mother is the most incredible impersonator. So he gets this from his mother, which is beautiful. And so a lot of this, I think, comes from him sort of being aware of these sorts of people.
It's Scorsese. People say like, oh, where did Goodfellas? Where does those? I'm like, he's regurgitating guys in his neighborhood.
Yeah, very much so. And he brought a lot of like grit, I think, to who the character was. And just really proud of our work together. One of the main things, this was like kind of late in the process, but we were like about to shoot, and then I was looking at this photography that Rigo had shared with me. I never could remember his goddamn name, and whenever I bring it up, I'm like, Rico, what's that photographer? I think it's called Khalid Clock, whatever. Anyway, he's this guy from the Bronx, and he photographs these people like outside bodegas and on the streets, and like this beautiful like lighting. It's just he's such a great photographer, but like a street guy who just started picking up a camera and like photographing his world and his reality, and I remember just being like, I wish we can get a little bit more grit in there. And then I was like, what do you think about tattooing your face, and like putting tattoos all over you? And he was like so excited. Yeah. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And then we called our makeup artist and then started getting into it. And, that ended up being a problem shooting.
It always is.
Because we didn't have enough makeup people, and, it takes 3 hours to put those fucking things on in the morning. Yep. So we were losing a lot of time, but, in the past, it's all good.
But hey, the performance is there. It's there. I wanted to talk a little bit about, now, again, I could barely pronounce your name. It's funny.
Seems you're getting it right.
Yeah, well, hey, I practiced. I kept saying, I even with Larry's last name, Fessenden. Now it's Skotchdopole. It's there now. Because everybody, like my real name is Gerald Finari. People are always fucking that up. Like Ferrari, I'm like, listen, if my name was Ferrari, I wouldn't even be talking to you right now, motherfucker. Like, and I don't even want to try and butcher his name. It's John
Spiridakis.
Mm-hmm. Listen, man, I got to tell you, one of the best performances I've seen in like 5 years, easily. Because
he's great.
He's the special effect. He's, people say like, oh, like, look, Howard the Duck, it's Little Duck. It's, you got to sell it on the special effect. And I'm like, once you meet him, and you get a little bit of it, because we see him at the beginning of the picture and we get to know him more as time goes on. He just, goddamn. Now, he's a genre guy. He's a guy, he's worked on everything. I mean, what hasn't he worked on, What was the process with him? Because that performance, man, you got to understand, dude, like, you're a first-time director, and I'm not even, like, talking down to you or anything, but, like, like, to get a performance that strong out of the gate, even the whole thing with Reed is fantastic, but that's the centerpiece. He's the anchor. I mean, he's just, you watch a performance, let's just say Jack Nicholson, right? One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You watch a performance, you're like, God damn, like, we're going to be talking about this guy for a while. Mm-hmm. And that's how I felt when I saw him. I was really blown away. We overuse the word gravitas, but that is why Crumb Catcher works. Because even though these are fantastical things, and it's a little bit crazy, maybe it's a little out there, but they feel tangible. Feels like, fuck, this could really happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, for me, again, it goes back to that Polanski thing of stretching reality through perspective. And that has been, since page one, that was in there stylistically. My rule was basically keep it at a house.
One location.
Dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Isolated, dangerous, and one perspective. That was the sandbox I put myself into. And when the story, if you think about it like a dream, it starts, like a dream could start like you're in here, and then you walk outside, you go through a door, and then you're in a hospital. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess this is a hospital then. In my dream, this made sense that it was a hospital. And I think that's sort of where, with Crumb Catcher, you just sort of start stretching the reality. Okay, you believe that? It's almost in a way like, because I do think that the movie is sort of talking about abusive relationships, or at least that's what I kind of think the movie is like Leah and Shane almost like they're on the verge of having an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
This other couple comes in and they're like seriously in the deep end of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, am I going to be like that? Or am I going to say no?
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to be true to the
I didn't
person.
even think about that.
But that's the movie that I was trying to say. And then all the other stuff is just like candy to help the medicine go down, really.
Of course.
And it was the way I think about it is the shiny toy. But like, and that's why like as the movie gets more tense, then all of a sudden the relationship becomes really more tense, and then they're talking about things that they would never talk about before. And I really think that there's this part in the movie where he yells at Leah. It's like, whoa, was he almost about to hit her? Like, is that what just happened there? Or was he telling her to? So there's lots of gray area.
I don't feel safe.
I don't know. And like all these things, and like when I was dealing with them, with the actors, I was always very much like, he's never yelled at you before. This is like the first time he's ever been vocal like this. And I also think that because every time they would get into a fight, he would be like, all right, I'm going to go get drunk. And I'll just be gone for a day. And that's sort of how he, like, very much like the bodega dad thing that I was going for, but that he would just like leave the problem. Even like in the opening scene when he's like drinking, he's like, as soon as he has conflict, he's like, I'm gone, bye.
Yeah.
And that's just how he deals with his life. And then this situation is like, no, you're in a fucking cage right now.
Yeah.
And then these parts of their personalities come out that are intense.
It's crazy because I didn't even think about the social dynamics there, which is, folks, again, if you haven't seen it, this time to cash in that chip and go see Crumb Catcher.
We'll be right back with more of The Offering with Jerry Horror.
80s and 90s horror fans, it is time to rejoice. You've seen his work, you're a fan of his art, and now you can wear artist Mark Schoenbach's Sadist Art Designs. If you're a fan of cult classic horror, you know his work. You've seen it everywhere, from the Halloween franchise to Pool Party Massacre. Whether it's at Slashback Video or Mac and Me, you will recognize his distinct style instantly. Now check out his latest stock, including R.L. Stine and Christopher Pike inspired merchandise. Visit sadistartdesigns.com and put some respect on your swag. Now, the most definitive account of the films made by the most infamous and influential studios of the 1980s, Cannon Films. The Cannon Film Guide Volumes 1 and 2 gives you the true stories from the people who made them, and truth is stranger than fiction. From American Ninjas to Masters of the Universe, from Charles Bronson to Chuck Norris, from Bloodsport to Texas Chainsaw 2, take it over the top on your Superman 4 quest for peace. These books have got it all, folks. A passionate journey through the highs and lows of pure 80s goodness. The Cannon Film Guide illustrates all the behind-the-scenes mayhem of one of the most beloved cult movie factories of all time. We at The Offering highly recommend these books. They are essential reading for any and all film buffs. The Cannon Film Guide, Volume 1 and 2, available now at Amazon, iTunes, or wherever finer books are sold. Listeners and fans of The Offering can get their hands on their very own The Offering with Jerry Horror merch, now only at TeePublic. Find your own fresh The Offering with Jerry Horror high-quality merchandise, including t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, long sleeves, stickers, and mugs. Just like the show, we've got gear that's mostly horror, always genre. The Offering with Jerry Horror TeePublic store has everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Folks, head on over to teepublic.com right now and pick up your very own Offering tee today. You're listening to The Offering with Jerry Horror. Got a question or a story you want to share with me? It might be featured in a future episode. Email me at jerryhorror@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter at jerryhorror. I'm also on Instagram. You can find me there at jerryhorror. Rate and review this show on Apple Podcast, and you might find your review in an upcoming episode. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to The Offering. Now back to the show.
Now I want you to take a journey together. A journey into the future.
Jay? There's a car in the driveway.
What do you mean?
That there's a car in the driveway.
Oh, hey guys! John Spinelli from Crystal Views. Wow, look at this. Now that is interesting. I'm actually something of an artist myself. I'm an inventor and an entrepreneur with a groundbreaking product. This thing will knock your socks off.
30 seconds. I'm calling the police.
Talk to you for a second. Oh, I think you're really gonna love this, pal.
How did you get the address?
You two need to leave right now.
Bingo, bongo, up the Congo.
Yeah, that's right.
going on up there? Why are you letting this guy walk right over you?
I want you to take a journey together. A journey into the future. So who wants to try first?
Everything in this movie from top to bottom, because usually, again, me as a viewer, I don't feel safe with these people. Any of them.
Yeah.
Any of them, because I'm seeing the little bits and pieces. It's one of these things where it's just like, usually you get to the third act of a movie and you're like, well, I can see the finish coming. I see the finish. Didn't see the finish, which I appreciate. And I was like, how the fuck is this going to end? That's always a good thing. When I watch a movie and I don't know, anytime that a writer outsmarts me or the film outsmarts me, I'm thrilled because I'm like, I didn't think of that. And that's what I want to. I want to see new ideas. I want to see new things. But, and again, I'm not going to give it away if you've gotten this far. There's a very tense scene. There's a car chase.
Yeah.
Say it's a car chase. There's somebody inebriated that's driving during that car chase. And for whatever reason, as someone, that scene, first of all, you're looking at this movie and you're saying to yourself, well, you know, it's got this kind of indie vibe to it, but there's a lot of things we're going to get into in a second, but like that car chase is like harrowing and it works and it sells and it's like, holy shit, this dude pulled off, you know, some French Connection shit in this movie. Like, how'd that happen? So just tell me.
Yeah, I mean, through a lot of preparation. Also, again, going back to that single point of view, really helps have the audience be like, oh shit, because it's like it's not a lot of like big cars, things happening. It's kind of like in his perspective as this is happening. Even like a lot of the times, like I only cut outside when it's like him going like, and then he goes out, then we're outside, and then we come back and we're like, oh shit, and then we're back. It's about that kind of.
There's a personal.
There's a strict rule of the POV that is making that work really really well, I think, and but it's also just preparation. I mean, I had storyboarded the entire sequence with a friend of mine, Ben Duff, and then I made animatics, like a cartoon, you know, just with single pictures, like. And then I would do sound effects, and you'd hear the car under the animatics, and then I'd have Shane do the dialogue, and then so you could just see it. And then we just got a road and closed it down, and just allowed to have enough time to do it. You know, like one day of stunts with the drivers, and then another day pulling the car on a trailer, and then another day of all inserts, like with Poor Man's Process, and you sort of throw all that together.
Yeah.
My producer, Chad Harbour, and I came up with this concept of, you know, it's sort of like Jurassic Park. It's like some of the things are puppets, and then it's CGI, and then whatever the things are. Like you're mixing the effects that you're doing to sell this thing, so you can't ever quite.
Yeah.
You're not in one effect.
You're throwing the
enough.
audience off.
Yeah, so you don't know which one we're doing yet.
Back to the sleight of hand.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, definitely.
It's crazy just because, Jesus Christ, Fede Alvarez, he's got Alien Romulus coming out.
Yeah, I look forward to that, yeah.
And they were talking about they're doing some different things, and they were like, we used puppets. We used stop motion. They got Phil Tippett. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Phil Tippett. That's fucking awesome. And I think it was awesome because, like, at first, 20th Century was like, can you shoot this on the volume? And he's like, absolutely not. Like, we need to build sets. There needs to be a tangible thing for these actors to work with. And they did as much as they could practical and in camera. And nowadays, you just don't see that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also like people like to kick the commitment down the line, you know?
Pass it off to the pre-vised VFX
yeah,
house.
like, oh, well, they're going to do this and like, you know, that kind of a thing.
Don't worry, we'll make them fly.
But, you know, some of the best effects, you were just talking earlier, I don't know if it was on the record or if it was earlier, but you were talking about Sam Raimi. You know, Spider-Man 2 with Dr. Octavius, a lot of that, some of it is CGI, but then a lot of it is practical.
Puppets. Right?
Yeah, with these like metal puppets that he's doing.
And they have personality, which was like insane.
And like if you can just, like you have that close-up of the puppet doing something, and then there's a CGI moment, and then it goes back to puppets, and then you're like, you really sell it. I mean, today's standards, it look like Spider-Man 1 and 2 look better than the superhero movies that they're doing now. With
I agree.
Huge effects, because there's no sense of gravity. There's no sense of like what is real, what is fake.
There's no
like,
stakes.
Yeah, like
That
even
too.
I've been watching a lot of Pixar movies because of my daughter. And like one of the things that they do is that they only move the camera how a camera would be moved. Like they're not cheating.
Yeah.
They're like, if
we
a
were
camera couldn't do
capturing-
this, then we're not doing it. And I think that's why, like, when you see some of their animations compared to others, it's because I think they follow those rules. And I think whenever you're making something, if you can get your rules in order, and it's great to break the rule.
Yeah.
You know.
Because you
But know that you're breaking the rule.
your eye saw it, but your mind didn't realize what there's that whole what did your mind really see, or what did you think you saw?
Yeah,
you know,
there's a lot of that.
I mean, they shot the exterior as much as they could with the Raimi films. They shot on location in New York. I mean, every great actor, you know, you watch those first two movies and it's just like top to bottom, all these, you know, people who would go on to have fantastic careers, but they were New York actors. I think that's important. I think time and place is important. Everybody nowadays wants to be nebulous, but you have to make a commitment to, I'm making this film and it takes place in 1979 or whatever it is. And that's part of the magic of those Spider-Man movies, is that for some reason, whatever that homespun ability that Sam Raimi has, you feel it. You know, whether he's implementing these puppets for Doc Ock or whatnot, it's all very relatable. God, capturing the early aughts in New York is insane, and how Spider-Man just went on to become this thing. You know, like after 9/11, it was like, oh my God, we all embraced Spider-Man. It was like, holy shit. You know, they had to change the trailer, if you remember.
I remember that. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
That was a big. I saw that trailer. I saw
I
that
remember
at
seeing it too.
IMAX. I saw Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. That was a terrible film. Holy
I don't
shit!
think I saw that one.
Just don't even.
Yeah.
But it was funny, you know. It was one of my first IMAX movies, and I was just like, all I wanted to do was see Spider-Man after that, you know. And these things, you didn't realize it, but everything that you're taking in, we talked about, like your daughter, it's like they're a sponge. And I think with filmmakers, it's, you might not realize that it's all in your brain, but you're taking it in. And at some point, you're going to apply it. And sometimes you're not even aware that you're applying that.
Yeah, well, that's sort of where I'm sort of coming from with movie inspirations for the film. Like, I was just watching everything that is within that genre all the time.
Yeah.
And I was never thinking, oh, I'm going to do a shot like this, ever. I never was like, I don't think I'm trying to think of any shots in the movie that are references to other movies. They're really not.
Which is nice.
But the point is that I'm sure there are shots in there, but it's all filtered through what you're talking about. It's just like, I'm absorbing this type of movie and then trying to make that. And even like the film I'm working on right now takes place in the 90s, because like it's this thing where I just want it to feel like a 90s movie that was made in the 90s, not like trying to just throw all those films into my head and like, okay, this is what the world felt like here. And then I just come at it from whatever I'm trying to do.
It's important, especially with, you know, time and place again, because a lot of times you look at something like that 90s show, which has been terribly guilty. It was even when they did I think they did almost a season of that 80s show. And everything becomes very cheap, because it's like, remember Cyndi Lauper? Remember, everything just becomes a member berry. Like, it just becomes like, okay. One of our friends, director Frank Sabatello, once said to me, he's like, there's the 90s that you remember, the real 90s with the wood paneling and all this other shit, and then there's the 90s that Hollywood presents to you. I think the best movies, when you talk about period pieces, are the ones where you say, oh my God, I could have been there. You know, even like another great movie, you watch Saturday Night Fever, and it's you're in New York, you're with these guys, you're driving around in a car, and everybody I know, they drove around in cars with nothing to do. Everybody's just looking for something to do, and that's totally relatable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want to push, but what you're working on now, I'm just a little curious. I mean,
I can tell you a little bit about it. It's about a guy who is basically a dry cleaner who's transforming his father's family business into a tuxedo rental shop.
That's cool.
And he's sort of like trying. It's basically someone who's reaching
aspirational, like the bear.
Yeah, but it's sort of absurd in this way that it's like he's like a tuxedo man. You know, like he just wants that tuxedo lifestyle.
I should have known something like this would come.
and so it's basically like him being into luxury, and like he has an Amex. And do you take Amex?
Yeah.
No one takes Amex, you know, but but at his establishment, we only take Amex.
We take it, yeah.
You know, like, so it's this kind of like
He's got a Studio 54.
And I just think of him as sort of a person, if someone were to ask him why he cares about tuxedos, is he's like, I don't know where this is going in the movie, but this is a helpful guide for me, is like, I think he's like, you know, people come to me as a dry cleaner and I see them at their worst day, you know. I want to see them at their best.
Oh, shit.
You know, I want to see them when they're getting married. I want to be a part of that memory. You know, like that's where he is that he wants to be part of something beautiful.
And that's important.
Not of cleaning up a stain or whatever. And that's sort of the character we're dealing with, and he's sort of getting involved.
It's relatable, though. It's relatable. It's psychological drive. What does our character want? What are they looking to achieve? What are their aspirations? And I feel that when you can ascertain that as a viewer, it's already a rich cinematic experience.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's sort of a classic, like, reaching further than, was I meant to be a dry cleaner, you know? Or
yeah.
Like, is that who I am? You know, so it's kind of, it's an interesting thing how it's like, it's actually kind of an identity movie.
Yeah.
An identity problem he's having about, like, can he be more than he was born
But
to be?
don't we all have that?
Of course, yeah.
You know?
So that's why I think it's relatable, but it's this kind of told through this mystery that he's uncovering about some of the realities of the world that he lives in.
Ooh.
Yeah.
This
so
sounds
that's where the Chinatown thing comes in. But
oh, okay,
yeah.
okay. Hey, look, that's it. We ain't gonna talk about it no more. It sounds cool. I'm in. You know.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where any director who shows me a good movie, I'm gonna watch your next movie.
Yeah.
And there's some of these dudes that I'll stick with, even if I'll stick with them down the line. I'm like rooting for them. Like, I know they can do it. They can pull it off in this fifth movie. You know.
I know, and it's so sad when it's just like, you went the wrong direction.
Yeah.
You know, you feel like, oh, you're being pulled in this way now, and that's always just awful to see. I recently, speaking of like 90s thrillers, one of the ones that I really loved, which I don't even know if it's 90s, I think maybe it's early 2000s, but Unfaithful. Well, it's definitely Diane Lane and Richard Gere plays her husband.
It's got great sex scenes.
Yeah, I mean, and actually it's the guy who did the movie you were talking about with Michael Douglas. What was that one?
Fatal Attraction.
Fatal Attraction, right. So it's the same director as that movie.
It's Adrian Lin?
Yes.
Thank you. Holy shit.
And anyway, the point is that Adrian Lin made a movie recently with Ben Affleck.
Yes.
And I was just like so excited when
so
it was coming
I.
out. Because I was like, oh, he's
This is
returning.
bringing it back.
And it was so like, what the
lame.
fuck is going on?
Beautiful people.
What is going on with this movie?
You know, that's what they always say. Like, you cast a man and a woman, we want to see them fuck. That's essentially what's happening here. And like, he failed at the base level. I honestly, I kind of noped out of it. That last film he did.
I mean, did you try watching it?
I tried. It was the same like Hypnotic. I love Robert Rodriguez, and it's another Ben Affleck joint. And I'm just like, this sucks. Like I understand like there's time and place. It doesn't have to be like Machete or anything like that, but you expect a little flavor.
What went wrong? Because Lin is like so good at. I mean, some of his movies are so incredible. So it's just like, what's going on here? Because it feels like the subject is good.
Yep.
For him.
You got the actors.
You know, Ben Affleck is a bit Ben Affleck. But so it's sad when you see people go.
Yeah, there's always like there's guys who, you know, I'm putting him on Front Street, and he has made a lot of good movies, but it took some time. It was Brian Bertino who made that first Strangers movie. That first Strangers movie, man, knocked me out. We did an episode, sick plug, previous episode, but you know, it was based on real murders and all that stuff. And then I think he did Blackbird after that. But it was one of these things where I'm like, you see a movie and you're like, God damn, it's a strong movie, and you're waiting. You're like, because it was even Monkey Man, which was one, Dev Patel directed it, and he's in it. It's one of those things like, I enjoyed it. A lot of my contemporaries were like, this is the greatest thing ever, which is just the hype train of media in general. Sure, yeah. I said to myself, call me when Monkey Man 2 comes out, because I know that when he gets to that next movie, he's going to be the master of his domain. He's going to be like, all right, now I know. Because I could see the inconsistencies. But he had a tough time with that movie. It was a tough time, But he had Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele saves the movie, gets theatrical distribution. It was going to be another one of these movies that just goes to streaming and it's like vaporware. I feel like that's all of Apple's library. There's a new movie with Matt Damon, and I think it's Casey Affleck is in it. And it's just like...
Some kind of heist movie, right?
Yeah, and it's going to be one of these movies that you forgot. Oh, wait, they made this movie?
Right.
And it's that... I think we're all starting to learn that theatrical distribution is still always the way to go, even if you got a 4-wallet, whatever you got to do, because it gives prestige and value to the movies. It is, that was in theaters. And I still think that way.
That was the thing that was the reason why I went with this company, Music Box, is because as, we had a couple people who were interested in distributing the movie, which, we were very lucky to have interest because so many people don't. My main thing was like, I was sort of thinking very much about like when Independence Day came out when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
And not that that's like some movie that I love and it's a great film, but it's just I have this memory attached to it that like I remember when it was about to come out.
Yep.
And like going to the theater and it was sold out. And
I was there.
And then we had to like, we can't. Okay, so we're gonna go tomorrow. So we get into the theater, and then loving it, and then I have to piss, and I'm like, oh God, I'm like, what am I missing? I'm peeing, and I'm like, getting back, and then the movie goes away, and then you're waiting, and then like DVD comes out, and then you're like, oh, you're gonna get the DVD player, and you're gonna get this, and it's like, the movie is fine, like I like the movie, but it's like that experience of it made the movie kind of
it elevated
it bigger than it was. It became this
event
waiting period. It became this part of the thing. And basically when I was talking to companies that were interested in the film, I would say this story exactly like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to replicate this as much as possible as we can. And Music Box was down to like consider a period of time where it was only in theaters, because I really don't like when it's like theaters and
VOD the next day.
Time. I think it makes movies forgettable. It makes them, and it's not because of the filmmaker, it's because of the presentation of it. And so basically I wanted to avoid that. I had this idea that it would be in theaters for a period, and then I wanted there to be a period of dormancy, which is kind of what the movie is dealing with now. Like you can't see it anywhere right now. And then VOD will happen. So again, we don't have the advertising spend, and it's not going to be Independence Day in that way. But for me, I wanted to have that period where it was like, if you want to see it, go to the theater and you can have conversations about it there. But that's the only place you could see it. Then there should be a period where like you heard of it, now it's not out anymore. You're not having, and then it comes, and
Makes
then
it more
you sort
special.
of have made this bubble.
Yep.
Of like, okay, well, summer 2024. The beginning was Crumb Catcher came out, and then at the end it's VOD. So then now your summer is that.
Okay.
And that's sort of what I'm saying about the Independence Day. Is like that was that summer in '99 or whatever I was, or maybe it was '98. And yeah, so I wanted to replicate that. Obviously, we're smaller fish, but I do think like in terms of confidence and whatever, like I was like, this is what we're doing. I was very like confident that this is what I needed to make happen. And then we got this like AMC deal, and we were in like, I think total now we're like 65 theaters like across, or maybe it was 70 like across the country. And for like a movie that I pieced together with my friends is pretty incredible. That we were in like all these states and all these AMC theaters and like fighting against Twisters and Long Legs and these companies with millions and millions of dollars of advertising spend. But, our movie is sort of in that conversation with those films right now.
Because it's a part of the cycle.
It was part of that world. Like, the people who went to Twisters, they walked by Crumb Catcher's poster. They saw Crumb Catcher's trailer in the movie. So now we're in that world. We're in that summer.
Yeah.
That summer of Long Legs, of this and that. We were the alternative thing in that film, or in that world. And I think that is how movies have a life. That's how a movie kind of stays with you. I just have a strong connection to it because I grew up in New York and my father was in California, and I would know like, oh, he's shooting that movie now. And I kind of remember my life in terms of like, oh, that was when they were shooting that movie.
And that's how
I remember my life in a lot of ways. It's like, oh yeah, that was when we went to that and we like picked them up from, this film, and then we went to skiing or something.
I use
like
it
that.
even when I saw them. I can tell you what theater I saw it at. I can tell you, because to me, it was the most monolithic thing in the world to me. It's all that mattered. And even like I've been working on a book. I really haven't been working on it. Let's be honest, producer Pete, because I've got to confront things about my past and things that are personal to me. In a lot of ways, emotionally, I wasn't ready to do that. But the basis for the book was just, the only way I can tell you is like what was going on. I was like, because movies seem to enrapture my mind. And I think about them after I've seen them. I think about them before I see them.
Yeah, sure.
And that's what I use for the markers. I say like, oh, well, that was the summer we saw Spawn, which was terrible, but I'll never forget it.
Yeah, no, but that's literally what I'm saying, and that's what I was fighting for with this little movie. Again, I think it comes from this like thing about, I know you're saying this is a director series to inspire people, but like for me, it came from like I'm sitting with all these people that over Zoom talking about the film, and I'm sure they have other people that they're talking to about acquiring a film, and I'm talking about like Independence Day.
Yeah, but
and
it's
just
real.
Like, but it's like that's just a confidence thing. That's like, this is what I want, and this is what it's gonna. It's almost like I feel like the important thing when you're making a movie is you just have to be stupid, like naive, and like maybe you'll fall on your ass and you won't jump the stairs with the skateboarding analogy or whatever. But even if people roll their eyes at you, you've put that in their head already.
Yep.
And now that's a thought in their head. And the more times that you can incept your ideas into people, even if they don't believe them, a lot of times they will come true if you just keep saying them. Like I just find myself to be a broken record. I just say the same thing over and over and over and over again.
But
until
repetition,
it happens.
repetition
Until
is
it happens,
success.
yeah. And like even when people say, yeah, but that can't happen, and I'll just be like, okay. And then I'll just say the same exact thing I just said again.
Yeah.
And I think compromise is important, but also being naive is incredibly important. And Citizen Kane or Orson Welles attributes a lot of the way in which that movie was made is just him being an amateur.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the best way to approach almost everything is like being a complete amateur. How would you do this with the resources that you have? This is the goal. This is the shot. This is the this or whatever you're doing. There's ways that professionals will tell you how to do it, but then there's other ways that you can do. That was a lot of like the car chase stuff, and I had one of my producers that really helped a bunch was this woman named Cameron Cruz, who had never worked on a movie before.
Wow.
She sort of started being like, she was going to help me with wardrobe, but then she can kind of do anything. So then she just started, like I would just tell her to do something else because she's not doing anything with wardrobe, and then she'd be able to do that. I find a lot of times that I'm most inspired when I'm around someone who's never been on a film set. And they're just excited. They're just excited about, they love movies and this and that. Oh, so I want this and this to happen. And if they're like a can-do person and they want to figure it out, then they'll do it. Like I have a story of like I had for the wedding scene, I had reached out to Hudson Valley Film Commission. I blasted out like $50 a head, come to be in this movie.
Yeah.
Extras at the wedding. And then I was just feeling nervous the night before, like how we should get some people. Like should we call some people from the city? I remember Cameron was just like, oh, okay, let me just put on some makeup. Let's go to the bar. We went, there was like some festival in Peekskill or whatever.
Yeah.
And she talked to like, I don't know, like 30 people, 40 people, whatever it was, and invited them to be this thing. And then the next morning she has like texts from all these dudes like that want to like be in the movie. And these guys just came for free, and we couldn't get them to leave.
Wow.
They wanted to be there. They were so excited.
Yeah.
And then you see the wedding scene now. It's like, looks like it's a packed place. And those were like, the night before, we were like, are we going to have enough people? Like, okay, let's just go out to the bar and just start getting people excited. And again, that's just like in high school, if you were making a movie, that's what you would do.
Yep.
You wouldn't like call the Hudson Valley Film Commission.
We've done it.
Like you would, not to say anything bad about the Film Commission there, but they were extremely helpful in so many ways in the movie. But yeah, and even like so many different times when, in the car chase, there's this part where the camera goes by the car and all this shit flies off the car.
Yeah.
And that was something that I thought of the day before we were going to shoot. Like, I was like, oh, that would be great if, like, just as that happened, all of this shit flies off the car, off the Dr. Seuss car. And and then, yeah, we just, like, created this rig, put a shit ton of paper into one of the suitcases, did a string, and then did it a few times, and then it worked. And again, I just think it's like one of those things where you have to just
there's really willful ignorance to almost
willful ignorance. And there's a thing that Larry always talks about, that he talks about when he's making a movie, that he's always trying to get back to that place of excitement. Like, why did I start making this movie? What was I excited about? Always trying to tap into that.
You gotta.
And I think that's like a really sound piece of advice, is just always remind yourself, why are we here?
Yeah.
What was the reason? You know? And I feel like there is this thing, and many people have it, children have it. Oh, what if we did that? You know? And that sort of like, thought, it's like that needs to go in a box, and you need to protect that. And that is the thing you're going for. And like, just don't let it, you know. And there's a lot of people who are going to help you to get there. There's a lot of people who are going to be forces of antagonism against you to get there, but you just got to keep going for that thing.
And that's at the end of the day, that's the untangible.
Yeah. So that's really all what it's about. I mean, especially being in the writing process now, I'm like, it's really like trying to find that thing, which is a whole different.
I think you found it. I think fundamentally that's it. That's the movie.
Yeah, no, I that is the thing, but making a compelling mystery is fucking hard. Really hard. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's not like characters bouncing off each other in dramatic ways. It's like you are like creating a mechanism. You're creating a Swiss watch.
Yeah, it's like Ryan Johnson.
Yeah.
And did a little indie movie called The Last Jedi.
No, I'm aware of him. I don't think that I actually don't really watch a lot of modern movies.
You're not missing much.
and it's not because like I'm definitely going to watch the Aliens movie.
Oh hell yeah,
the new Aliens.
I mean, how can you not
100% watch that? But I prefer to me almost like movies are these memory boxes, as you were talking about, and I'm endlessly watching movies where I'm like, oh, that's when I was excited.
You're chasing that dragon,
and I'm chasing that high of like, oh, I remember when I first saw this, and like that feeling I had. Because you sort of, I'm relatively young and I'm already jaded. And when you see a new movie that gives you that, it's like, fuck, that's great.
And that was definitely the effect of Crumb Catcher on me. I was thinking about it. I'm like, and that's my favorite part of the movie. My favorite parts of the movies are always like before you go see it. Sometimes, whether you're a kid and it's some of the superhero stuff, you're like, well, I wonder what's going to happen. How is Spider-Man going to pull this off? And to me, that's the fun part, is the speculation. And then afterwards, talking about the films and saying like, hey, wait, what did he really think? Kind of like, that's why one of my favorite films is Boogie Nights. Because there's a weird sense in Boogie Nights that everybody is just a real person and they're not really sure what they're doing in this world. And that's how we all feel sometimes.
It's beautiful. I mean, the thing I think about all the time with that, I love that movie. And Paul Thomas Anderson is just, obviously.
He's the man.
Yeah, he's the master. But the point is that the thing I take away from that movie mostly is when Don Cheadle has decided he's like a future man.
Yeah.
And like he meets the woman. She's like, I like your clothes. And he's like, yeah, I mean, it's really original. And like he's just like he's constantly looking for self. Like Don Cheadle's character is always just looking to like him with the stereo.
He's the country
like,
guy.
You hear that bump, and it's like he's like listening to this this country music. That one character really is the heart of the movie for me. Yeah. Is that this guy? You see a lot of people in the entertainment business who will like change their name, and then they're sort of like, oh. Well, that didn't really work. Yeah. So I'm this person now, and it's always I always think about Don Cheadle and this thing where he's having this identity crisis through this like period of the porno thing. I feel like with that film, you're endlessly just thinking about these little moments that these characters are having, and then obviously the William H. Macy character
They feel like real people.
Yeah, and it's just so crazy because the world is real and it's so absurd. Like the idea of like all these men circling around this woman having sex on the ground, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" You know, his wife is getting screwed right there, and they're all like, "Leave us alone." It's absurd. And then this guy wants to talk about, "I'm sorry, I'm not focused on the photography of the picture," you know, whatever he says, his line. And it's just great.
I think that we all have an idea of self, you know, as beings. And what happens is people are pushing you in different directions. I think his name was Buck Swope in the Boogie Nights, the Don Cheadle character. Even the stereo owner says to him, "I thought I'd hire a brother, you know, and I thought that maybe, you know, you doing these adult films could, you know, get some maybe nice looking tail in this place." And everybody has these thoughts and expectations of who you should be. And at the end of the day, Chris, who is it that you want to be as a director? I mean, I know this is a fucking generality, but let me get a little bit deeper.
Sure.
People have expectation of you. And sometimes those expectations that people have nothing to do with you. It's their own bullshit that they're casting onto you. But at the end of the day, as a director, how do you want to be seen?
It's hard to know. I mean, I just have a new thing I'm thinking about, and then I'm just going to chase that until that happens, you know? In terms of who you want to be, I mean, it's a really tough question and also like a really good question. I don't really know. I mean, I could fall back onto one story that I've told before, which is like that I think every time you make a movie that you sort of decide who you're going to be as a leader, you know, but I think that's less like, I think what you're saying is a little bit more of a spiritual question of where you want to be.
It's all intertwined.
Yeah.
It's who you, like you're saying, the first day you step on that set, even like, were we talking pre-production, the whole...
Well, this is like more making, and I think you're asking a deeper question. I sometimes think about like, if I was 15 years old and I saw myself now, would I be like, fuck yeah? You know, I think about that a lot.
Yeah.
Or would I be like, really, you're doing that? You know, so I sometimes think about that.
You could have built a half pipe.
Yeah, exactly. or so I do think about that and try to like be the person that my 15-year-old self would want me to be doing. And I think that basically, if I want to say who I choose or I want to be, is like the main thing would be just like, I just always want to be doubling down on myself.
True.
Maybe that's a good way to answer it.
That's it.
You know,
that's
like,
it. You have
if
to.
I believe in that, then I need to put everything behind it. And I think that's important. And like when I made Crumb Catcher, I put everything I had down on the line for it. And I think that
it shows.
And I think that is important, because as soon as you're like, oh, but I could land over here if I need to, then it's not going to be as good.
You got to put it on the line.
Yeah, it has to be everything.
Everything or nothing.
Yeah, and I think that's why you're sort of dealing with a lot of, like, I think about this all the time, like it's like a gambler's addict attitude. That if you're at the table and you lose 1,000, then you lose 2,000, then you lose 10,000, then you lose 5,000, you think that being there for that long means that your luck is just around the corner. But the truth is it's not.
No.
And that's like the gambler's fallacy, is that like you think that the more that you've put into it, and a lot of times you feel that as a filmmaker a lot.
But blind ambition. But
I think you need to keep going down the path if you want. Actually, you know, it's funny that this relates to almost the core origins of John, the antagonist of the film. Is there's endless interviews with successful people talking about how like they were eating peanut butter and jellies, and then when they ran out of that, they had crackers, but they kept doing the music, and then one day we broke and whatever. I think young people and aspiring people are like looking to these things as like, yeah, if I could just keep, like, I'm on the saltines now. Like, okay, so this is going to be good. But I had, during the time I was writing Crumb Catcher, I was thinking about a character, which was John Spinelli, about like, what about the guy, like, why don't they have interviews with people who are failures, that gave everything, that did everything, put everything down on the line, and then failed, and didn't get it, and didn't have the interview, didn't have the success or whatever. And that's really who John is.
It's the guy who didn't make it.
Who tried everything, who did everything, put everything on the line.
Didn't become Paul McCartney.
And didn't become, the
ShamWow guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just like looking for some
That's
kind
fine.
of pop reference, but didn't become the guy with the pillows or whatever the fucking guy's name is.
No, honestly, it was a tough question. I don't know what I'm thinking sometimes, but
no, you're that. I'm just like trying to be honest as much as possible.
You answered it perfectly.
Great.
You answered
it took a while though.
No. It was there, and I really, that's what it is people. You can watch. Look, I love bonus features. I'm a sucker for some good bonus features on a Blu-ray, but there's things that you can't get. Look, and I'm not saying that Crumb Catcher isn't a fantastic value on Blu-ray. I'm not saying, but there's these little pieces of the movies that you can't get unless you sit down with a person and talk to them. And that's why we do this. We don't do it because you can't do this shit on Zoom. It's not the same. They can't see us ripping all this zin. Well, we have to call the Surgeon General. Is it okay that
I'm just like, I only have one more zin. Oh, Jesus.
It's okay. I got more of this. These terribly. The offering brought to you by. Let me tell you something. I don't care.
Are those not zin? What are those?
These are on. Which is, it's all the same
decent?
company. It's all the same company. It's like this Swedish, like they bought out the proprietary rights.
Yeah.
I watched this YouTube video the other day. Like, is it safe for me and the boys to be ripping this zin?
Actually, I think that they're okay.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, no, they're actually not terrible. And it's one of these things that they're making it harder now to get because people they're losing cigarette smokers to it.
Yes.
And actually, if you look at like Scandinavia, they have the lowest deaths of all nicotine use because they've been having these for years, so it's actually proven to be much better. And
Philip Morris, that's where they went. They went to Scandinavia, and I think they bought the patent on it or something so they could distribute it in the U.S.
Yeah, and I had some health scares recently, and the point is that I had to have all these things done, and I have like my blood doctor, heart guy, and I was like, oh, is it okay to like nicotine and this and that? And he's like, nicotine's not bad for you. And he's like, it's lighting nicotine that's bad. Like that explosion, the fire, and that's like a jewel, that's bad. I mean, that's
bad
combustible
too.
Because basically what happens is that it gets into your blood and becomes sticky and stuff like that. But the point is that he's like, I know so many doctors that swear by nicotine.
Yeah.
And like before they go into surgery, they put like nicotine patches on and like have healthy doses of nicotine in their system all the time.
See, I told you it was fine, Producer Pete. We could be ripping zins all day.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like nowadays.
Sponsored by
Zin. But that's the crazy thing is like, nowadays it would be like, oh, that's very, like I'm sure the fucking Jennifer Aniston or somebody would be like, oh, Jerry, that's not socially responsible. But I'm like the guy who's like Johnny Carson or Bob Hope who's like, oh, look, buy this gin. It comes with a free, non-safety seatbelt for your child. But, and you can have it, sometimes you like to take a drive, have a sip of gin. But I don't care. I'm not Jennifer Aniston. I'm not going to tell you to sell Smart Water. That's because Coca-Cola paid her. But I think it's okay. I think it's okay because here's the thing. We are a product of our time. We're ripping these things. It is what it is. But if this was 20 years ago, you and I would be sitting here smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, actually, I went through his whole period. I mean, this is slightly having nothing to do. Well, actually, it kind of has to do with the movie. Because I was like obsessed with Juul over the course of making the movie.
Dude, I've been there.
I was like, ripping like 2 to 3 pods a day.
Oh,
I
know.
And basically I had woke up, I was like, especially because I was like editing during this period, I was editing like, I don't know, like 12 to 15, 16 hours a day, sitting down the whole time.
Oh my God.
Ripping Juul and caffeine all day. And then basically I was sleeping and I woke up and I was like, I couldn't move.
Oh, no.
I could only move one arm. And then I like fell out of bed. Tessa wakes up and is like, what the fuck's going on? What are you doing? She turns on the light and like half my face is like,
oh no,
limp, and I can't move my body. Turns out that I had a stroke.
Holy shit.
And I truly do believe that it has to do with the Juul. Because basically, and especially because I wasn't moving at all. So what happens is like Juul or any kind of combustible nicotine tobacco thing, it makes your blood very sticky.
It's causing like a paralysis.
Yeah, so basically it makes it like, sticky is the point. Anyway, and I think it was because of this Juul, and so I stopped that. I went to a mentalist to help me quit, and where they sort of like hypnotize you into quitting. And it's funny, he was like, I can tell like how addicted someone is to it. Like, when's the first time you reach for the jewel when you wake up? And I told him, it was like, my test tells me that like when I was using that stuff a lot, that she would wake up in the middle of the night. I was sleeping, and she would just hear like,
No way.
and I was doing it in my sleep because I used to hold it in my hand when I went to bed. That's how like fucking hooked I was in it. As with this like Zen stuff, I feel like it's not as bad because I don't even have my first one until like 12 or 1 or whatever. Like, it feels manageable in a way that the other stuff is. But anyway, we're talking about
it's
consumption
fine.
right now.
You know, look, here, watch, we're going to dovetail this shit because I'm the master. There has to be a certain amount of neurosis to make art. There has to be. It is, if you indeed think that it is your soul speaking or your id or whatever the fuck that is in your head that's speaking, that neurosis has to come. It has to, because people don't realize it. It's like, you know, we talk stage play, you can't do 100 takes. You know, you're fucking Stanley Kubrick. And most people, they don't have the luxury of doing 100 takes, but you Stanley Kubrick. That comes from some weird addiction. That comes from some kind of weird shit. So I think what happens is, if you take a subsection of people within the film industry, whatever it is, creatives, not the bean counters, but the creatives, you'll find that a lot of us are cut from the same cloth, and we're just exploring these issues in different ways. And we're not even sometimes aware of it. You're aware of it because you knew what had to go into the script to make Crumb Catcher work, and the social dynamic, this weird parasocial dynamic that occurs between these 4 characters. And a lot of times I say that directors are working shit out, okay? And some dudes, it's their whole career. The whole career is just bah, 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 until they finally get to that picture that's like, this is the perfect embodiment of what I'm feeling. It works. Kids, get a jewel, make a movie. No.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
No, don't do the jewel. I feel like the jewel is actually bad, very bad.
But you worked it out. You made a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't because of that, I don't think, but I did love, did you see this like letter that David Lynch wrote recently?
Oh my
beautiful.
God.
I mean, it was so sweet. He's just an amazing
I'm going to make movies from my backyard.
Yeah, decent impression. And then he's like, no, but he's just like, I don't regret it for, all the cigarettes. I don't regret it for a day. And I do love that, like, substance abuse people. It's like, just like appreciate.
There's a transparency to it.
There's a transparency to, like, some of those things help in a lot of ways, and then you don't need them anymore, and then you can move on.
I go through binges, even with drugs and stuff like that, where, like last week I had all these edibles, and I was just taking edibles every day, and I'm working through some bullshit. I don't know what it is. Was I depressed? Was I anxious? I don't know. Maybe I just like getting fucked up.
Yeah.
Wow. At the end of the day, the art is just a statement of, it's, again, we go back, time and place. That's where you were at in life. And when you get to the next picture, you're going to be somewhere else,
Yeah.
You come back wiser from it. But I keep saying to myself, with David Lynch, I know that I have a feeling like he's going to, I'm not going to do the impression. I feel like, Kyle, I can't. But he's like, Kyle, you need to come over. I'm going to shoot a picture. And I have a feeling like it goes back to Boogie Nights, where, at the end with Burt Reynolds, he's making the movies in his backyard, and he's doing this because he loves it, and they got the home studio, and I feel like that's what I want for David Lynch. I want him to, I know he has paintings, I know there's all kinds of things.
I love his paintings.
Oh, he's incredible. Yeah. I do the transcendental meditation because of him. I wouldn't know about TM if it wasn't for fucking David Lynch. Yeah. And I only knew about that because he was a filmmaker. So yeah, you can have good influences on people and make movies. What I'm trying to get at here is, I know that he'll be happy. No matter what, even if he can't be on a set, he'll make that set in his basement. I know he will.
Yeah, he has he's very centered, and you just sort of like can tell that he's gonna work it out in a way. And the meditation thing, I've thought about the transcendental meditation. I feel like in a certain way, I was telling you about before shooting or before I'm writing or whatever, I'm like, I like have headphones on, and it's usually like very kind of braggadocious music that I'm listening to, or like trap music.
Oh, yeah.
Or like anything like really intense that's like you're the best, like I'm the richest motherfucker, or whatever it is. Like that's what I listen to for like about an hour to sort of get into this like sort of confidence ego thing.
No.
And in a way, it's my own version of TM.
Dude, I'm like, it's when I go to the gym, like I lost 100 pounds and I'm still going, I'm still kicking ass. And the reality of now I'm just putting on more muscle. And the reality of it is I had to put myself, and every day that I do it, I have to put myself into this fucking zone. And it's like, we're going to war. Like there's no bullshit. So I'm listening to that trap music.
It's the same thing.
The same thing. And it works. I think it was 50 Cent who said it best. Banks told me, go ahead, switch the style up, watch the money pile up. And that's what you did.
Yeah.
You were able to tap into 50, that.
Yeah. Just believe in yourself, I guess is the motto.
It's time for us to be dirty pimps and pimp out this film, Crumb Catcher, which is a fantastic film. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I can't give it a 9 because a 9 would be a perfect score, and the only way that you get a 10 is by cultural relevance over a 10 to 20 year period.
Cool. I'm happy with an 8. That's good.
Listen, man, let me tell you something. You gotta work to get an 8 in my book. But I'm a tough critic. No, I'm not really that tough. But at the same time, I think that when you get a movie that has a higher score and you're in that upper echelon, it's tough to get there. And the other thing too is we watch a lot of movies. Producer Pete and I, we're ripping movies like Zinn. We're watching movies. And to see one that had a profound effect on me, especially, in a theater and everything else, which was wonderful, and I love your approach to it. I want to thank you for Crumb Catcher. Just thank you.
Oh, well, thanks so much, man. I mean, that means so much to me hearing that, especially because I think of when you're making something is like when you're going to make something good, it's like this is like an offering. This is like you're sort of giving joy. Like this is something for people to experience. I actually am finding myself, I'm distant from it. Like the whole like people talking online and people reviews and all these things. Like I find them very strange because I feel like at its best, art should be something that you're offering out of love. And then to like judge it feels weird to me. Like it comes from a weird place. Like if I were to come to you and like give you a hug and say, Jerry, this was awesome. I love you. Like, thank you so much for doing this. And then you were to say, well, the way he hugged was a little long. It was a bit of a long hug. And, when he came up to me, I just knew what he was going for right away when he went for the hug. I don't know. It's just this thing where it's like, in my world, I think of like when I make something as like, oh my God, what if? Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm just like so kind of uninterested in people's thoughts in some way, because it's not that I don't appreciate them. It's just like, it's getting in the way of like my thoughts,
Yeah.
in a certain way, because I'm just like, I just want to be like thinking about the next hug.
Yeah.
And I think there's also this thing with like online culture that like negativity spreads. It's just so pathetic.
It is.
It's pathetic in a way. And I'm just like, why would you choose to spread hate?
Stop talking.
I just don't understand it. I don't. And then like even like I'll have like things where in my personal life where I'm just like, God, and just like anger comes out of nowhere, And I'm just like, why did I do that? Why was I angry? And I think it's like, I don't know, I'm digressing, but I feel like there's something a little like, I don't like it.
It's infectious.
I just think that even when I'm like looking at, we're talking about one of my favorite filmmakers, David Lynch, before. You can't look at his movie and judge his, like, there's no judgment. I can't look at any of his films and judge them.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I love that one more.
Yeah.
Or like, it's just this thing that was created by a person that had a vision.
Yep.
And that's what it is. And like this idea of categorizing it and judging something, I'm just like, how do you categorize love? I don't understand. You can't
quantify it.
It just doesn't make sense to me, But ultimately, it's part of this like the show business of it.
Life is too short to talk about things you hate.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't give a fuck. I'm not out here for clicks. If I was out here for clicks, you would be some YouTuber and we would be fucking, I don't give a fuck.
Right, but that's what I'm even saying about, like, I feel like the only comments that people should put on movies or on anything that someone gave their heart and soul into something is positive. Because it's just like, do you really want to be the person that's judging something that was made out of love? I can't get it. I don't even understand it. He's going through a very strange stage right now in his life. I feel bad for him. But like Kanye is kind of one of my like big
I love Kanye.
People that I love. And he's going through a very dark period that just like could make me cry. It's so sad. But the idea is like, you'll just see these comments where people are being negative to this dude. And I'm just like, think about all the times you were in the club and you had a great time because of this guy.
Yeah.
Think of all the bangers.
The joy he brought
The joy he fucking brought your life. And now you're bringing this guy down? Like, this guy gave you something.
Be thankful.
Be thankful.
Be grateful for the art, for the joy.
Grateful. You don't like it, move to the next thing and come back when you like it. But it's like, I just don't get it.
I still listen to those records.
Fuck yeah. I mean,
I was listening to Through the Wire, even for Mission Impossible 3, The Impossible song. I love that song.
I mean, I love so much of his stuff, and just like the attitude that he has, I really like.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he puts it there. There's, again, transparency to his art. You know what he's talking about. And there's, I get it. And you got to tap into that. And there's an honesty to his work. When you go through College Dropout and you go through those records, he's going through some shit and he's telling you what it is, and his expectations, even like, the diamonds from Sierra Leone, he's talking about blood diamonds and shit. Like, he's a dude who has depth. It's sad because he is now, I feel, trapped in the machinations of being Ye, of being Kanye West, rather than being Kanye West. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's all like, I miss the Kanye. It's like that whole thing he's going through. But yeah, it's been interesting. His thing he's going through right now. It's like he just had this like Vultures thing, which he just sort of reverted back to his like, I'm rich kind of routine.
And it's weird
which
too.
is sort of my least favorite of his routines. Like, I really liked his spiritual thing that he was going through.
It was good.
And I think that you can't tell him he needs to be that thing anymore. Like, that's just,
he's a human being.
Yeah, he's going through something and clearly going through a huge life thing. And yeah, I found this, like, I just listened to his most recent one, the Vultures 2, and I was just like, oh, he's not there.
No.
He's gone. Like, it was like he's in a vacuum right now.
Yeah.
And there's nothing.
He thinks this is what the Kanye that you want. Or
he doesn't even know what he is. Like, I just feel like it's like, I mean, even him saying that he's not doing music anymore, which is like, people say that all the time. But like, but I do feel like he's sort of in this weird island that he doesn't even know what he is anymore. There's
a rumor with Vultures too that a couple of the tracks are AI versions of Ye. It's not even him. It's an amalgamation of something that was created that they thought would be cool. And hey, look, if you want to use technology as an artist, I get it. It's like this dirty thing right now. But the reality of it is that like this is just my commentary on Ye's current work, is that he's in a place where he doesn't know himself anymore.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on. And also that's why I'm saying like judgment on someone in that period, to speak about it from his perspective, it's like you should have empathy for him.
Yeah.
And what he's going through, and like after what he's given culture, or what he's given, how much he's influenced culture.
And that goes back to the blues musicians. These guys died penniless, even like a lot of the pro wrestlers, the people that you loved and let into your home and you listened to their music, and then we throw them away because we've created a disposable culture. And we all know
it's pathetic, yeah.
And that's what it is life is too short. Like we talked about Staying Alive. I don't like Staying Alive, the movie, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, but we had to talk about it. And there are things that are great. Some of the songs are great. Some of the choreography is great. But at the end of the day, life's too short to really, to me, it's a sickness. It is like the negativity is a sickness. And once you give into it, everything just becomes this sucks, that sucks. Well, why are you talking about things you're not passionate about?
Yeah, I mean, it is a thing where it's like, this is something Larry speaks to, when you read somebody's script or or you're watching somebody's movie, that you need to like approach it in a way like, okay, what were they trying to do? Okay, now let's see the film through that, you know?
Okay.
And then help that journey as you're like giving notes or you're thinking through something. If you look at the positives in something, you can be constructive and still feel like you're like talking about what you feel about it. But then you could also come to it from a negative point of view, which is nasty, and then you're like, I don't know. It's like, what do you want to leave behind, I guess is the point, you know?
Well, you left behind a great movie.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. Where can people see Crumb Catcher now? If you didn't catch it in a cinema and you're listening to this 20 years from now.
Yeah. You can, it's going to be on VOD 8/20. It's up for pre-order right now. So pre-order it, helps us with the algorithm.
Oh, yeah.
So if you like the movie, it's $15, or if you're interested in the movie, it's $15 a pre-order, and then 8/20 it comes out, and I hope people enjoy it.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
They're going to see it. I hope they enjoyed it as much as I did. And you know what? If you don't, go watch another movie. That's the beauty of this whole thing.
Right, yeah.
Is just, you don't like it? Guess what? There's more. And hopefully we get to see more from you. Because
Yeah.
I'm curious. You know, it's like a story. This is just the first act for you. I want to know where this is going to go. So I'm a fan.
Yeah, I'm curious too. We'll see. Yeah, no, I have more. I have more thoughts and still got things to do. But it is like after going through war with a movie, to fight to get to a place of where you want to be. I think what you choose to speak about becomes a little bit. You're like more selective. You're like, what am I trying? You know, you're a little bit more like, what am I doing here? What am I trying to get to? Which is a hard question.
I think we all just want to be happy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Trying to figure it out,
right?
yeah. Trying to find some. I just want to sleep well at night.
Jesus.
That's literally the only. That's like I sort of like my whole day is like, okay, if I work really hard, then I'll be able to sleep tonight pretty well.
Listen, man, I'm taking a cocktail of melatonin and all kinds of shit to make me go to bed.
Yeah, all that.
I'm like valerian root. I got it all in there. I got the ambrosia.
Yeah.
Chris, I want to thank you for coming on today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been a wonderful conversation, and
You ain't
great
gonna
to be here.
Listen, you're gonna go other places. We're not gonna talk about Kanye West. They're gonna talk about the movie. It's gonna be some bullshit, and that's really where it is. Is just I want people when you come on the offering, you feel like you're safe and you can just talk about whatever. We're not gonna fucking ambush you about politics or any bullshit like that. Because I feel like we're here to talk about art, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, beautiful, man. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go to class. You can skip class, you can show up for summer school, but I can promise you what you learned today, they don't teach that. That's not in a textbook, that's not in a classroom, that's what we call life experience. And man, life is gonna throw you some curveballs, trust me. 45 years old now as of this recording, and life has thrown me some curveballs. You know, I always like to say, if you think you got a plan, life's got another plan for you. You don't know what's gonna happen. But having Chris Skotchdopole here today, I'm just so thankful to have him because you know what? He made a movie that was great. Crumb Catcher is a great movie. I admire him as an artist. And I'm just so happy that I got to interview him. And for that, I'm thankful. And I'm thankful to all the listeners and everybody who showed up today. And you said, hey, I'm going to go into this with an open mind. I'm going to learn about something new. I'm not interviewing Tarantino. I'm interviewing the next Tarantino. I'm interviewing the guy who is at the ground level. He's working his ass off to get to that next place. But I'll tell you what, with Crumb Catcher, he's laying the foundation, baby. Laying the foundation. That's all you can do, right? Listen, this has been The Offering. Hey, and folks, by the way, just in case we're all keeping count here, because I know you are, find us on X, at The Offering, WJH. We got TeePublic. We got T-shirts. Oh, man, David Graham, he does all this fantastic art. Oh, my God, you can put it on your body. You can put it on your wall. That's fantastic. That's fantastic, right? This has been The Offering. I'm Jerry Horror. Mostly horror, always genre. You've been listening to The Offering with Jerry Horror. I'm very sorry. Produced by Pete Bune. If you have a question or a story you want to share with me, we'd love to hear from you. You can email me at jerryhorror@gmail.com or hit us up at Twitter @jerryhorror or on Instagram @jerryhorror. You getting the picture? Subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are provided for you and your family. I want you to enjoy. Just join us next time for another offering.
This has been a Sick Boy Wolfgang production. Thank you for listening.